Are you greeting? Are you greeting every Monday with dread? Feeling like you are in a place where even though you have this incredible dream that you built of your career path or your business and super successful woman, and you got there and it's not anything like what you thought. And maybe even feeling guilty because so many people have commented on how together you are, how lucky and blessed you are to have the things you have, only you can't connect with it anymore. And maybe you're stressed, burnt out, sick, exhausted. And if any of those things apply to you, then hi, my name is Jen, founder and owner of Laughing Lotus Wellness, transformational purpose coach and expert. And what I do is work with women just like you who are in this place of not feeling like they are connected anymore with their purpose and want to reconnect and reignite their fire for success and purpose being together once again. And what we do is work together to get clarity about how you got where you are, where you want to go, and how we're going to make that right. And so together we come up with a configuration. We kind of co-create that together and get you back on your path to purpose. So one of the things that I know after 15,000 hours plus of working with people over so many years of delving into meaning making and purpose work is that we have high expectations. Today we're going to be talking about that good old expectation. And I laughed when I started creating this content. It's really not funny if we're being really totally honest. And so, but I had to have a giggle because I thought I am the poster child for expectation. I am telling you what, I can preach about this from the soul. I used to be a serial expectation haver, a hanger oner. And so if that's you, I hope you relate. And we're going to talk a little bit today about what the hell's that all about? Why are we like that? How do we get there? And honestly, right, what are we going to do about it? Because we don't want to just talk about it. It's like, how can we live into this? So I'm going to talk about a couple of those things as well. But I love story. You guys know this. You guys know I love story. So I want to start with one of my friends' journeys right now. And I'm not going to use names because I don't want to unveil her, but I've been there. So it's fun because I talked about this quite a bit in Insight Timer on Monday. And oh, hello, Angel. Hello, Chantal. How are you guys? I was going to try to keep a track of my people they're coming in. I'm going to tell you what, I told my story in Insight Timer on the meditation this week. I mean, just a beautiful session. Oh my God, it was so good. It was dreamy. It was like people were in, they were asking questions. So I had all these questions that I wanted to answer. And I love that. So I did it there. I'm going to do a little bit of that here, but I'll try to keep it fresh too for the people that might have been in meditation because it's like, you want some new stuff, right? So I want to speak of a friend of mine that I know that talked to me. She was in one position and she knew she really wanted to move into a more private practice scenario. So think of my field I left, my traditional psychotherapy practice. And she spoke to me and she was like, Jen, I love my work, love the people, love the kids. She works with kids. And I know that I'm getting burnt out. I know the stress is weighing on me. I can feel it. And but she wasn't quite ready. She wasn't quite right. She was like, like doing the thing. Anybody have done this, right? You kind of know something's better for you. If I could tell you, this is one of my favorite things that I see. That's an unfortunate mistake that many of us can make. I made it. So I can laugh because I've made it myself. So I'm laughing at myself. Is the idea that somehow we're going to maintain for like 5-10 years. Like, yeah, I got it in me. I had a woman reach out to me. She wanted it. She's like, I want to do exactly what you're doing. Can you teach me how to do it? And I'm like, yeah, I would love to work with you. And so we started talking and I'm like, so, what's your timeline? She's like, well, I've got a pension. So 10 years out. Okay. Totally different friend. So I want to circle back to my beautiful friend that has decided to switch gears. So she was telling me this before summer. She was struggling. She's like, but I think I can do it. I'm like, girl, this is me. I get pushy. I get a little bitchy about things because I'm like, I can feel it. I've got a lot of really good dose of intuition going on in my soul. And so I can tell when someone's tapped out and it's time because that was me. Okay. But I was like, okay, I respect you. I got you when you're ready, when it's time, if I can support, if I can help. Nah, nah, nah. So she was like, I got it. I got it. I'm like, okay, namaste. Went back, started the school year, and was like, and done. I was like, yes. And I was excited. I celebrate that shit. When somebody is in a place, right, where they're ready to finally make that big launch, that's the stuff that gets me super excited because I've been there and I know what it takes, the juice that it takes in the unraveling and all the things. So I want to talk about what the hell does that do with the expectation? Because our expectations are typically based on your value sets. Oh, boom. Just saying. This was a really great conversation we had this week at Insight Timer. That when you circle back, if you look at your expectations, my friend that I'm speaking of, one of her biggest expectations of herself, and so many, we have them for others, we have them for ourselves. And we don't have 4 hours to dive into that, but I am going to be hosting a free release workshop at the end of October. What? That's coming up as well, full free. We'll talk more then. But I do want to get at this idea because your values are actually the springboard for your expectations. And so we also want to get really like nice with ourselves, like have some compassion, because my friend has a gigantic, and I do too, sense of responsibility. Do you feel me? I see your hand, Chantel. Right? So sense of responsibility. So I want you to finish this sentence. We did this in Insight Timer. It was so fun. It was like, ooh, because all the people were like, no. So we were like, okay, responsible people blank. I could do this all day long. Nice people blank. Oh, do you start to see what happens? Because they're the shoulds. And they're based on our values springboard the expectation. So my friend had this deep sense of responsibility to the place that she worked, the kids she served, the family she served. It was all tied in. And so, and that's, I mean, for all of us, right, myself included, my idea is real old, and I'm going to circle back to that next Thursday. So come next Thursday, because I'm going to tell a big hunk of my story next Thursday with one of my favorite people and guests that's going to be coming in next week. It really ties in beautifully next week, so I'm going to save it. But I wanted to talk about this idea because my friend's journey was my journey. Only bless her soul, because namaste, she did it way sooner than I did. It took me 4 or 5 years. It's way too long. Way too long, friends. Holy shit, way too long. So I'm so excited for her that she has come to this space. And so she and I got on a phone call and we were talking about, like what's going on and where do you need to go? What do you got to do? And I was like, okay, let's go do the things, go do this, go get this next step, right? This next right step started because you got to let this stuff go. Clearly your soul's being told that you have something else to do. And she was like, yeah, it is. So beautifully, as the universe is, exactly what she needed showed up right in her sphere. And I love that. There is nothing, like I said, I get more excited about than when I see somebody changing lanes. And I talk a lot about this in the work that I do with people. Sometimes it's staying where we are doing what we're doing. And sometimes it does require a lane change. Mine was a lane change. My purpose didn't change. My lane I did it in did. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about, well, sometimes we can stay where we are and sometimes it means that we need to change lanes. That's really an important component of that purpose work. Circle back, expectations. So I will tell you, if I could count the number of times I ruined experiences by my expectations, I would for sure be a gazillionaire. Just saying. I wish that was a pastime I could make money for. Okay. So back in the day, it would look like an event, a function, a holiday. Oh, it didn't matter what it was. In my head, I play it out, get myself, in this space where I had all the layers kind of figured out what it was going to look like, what it was going to feel like. And then you would go a job. I mean, you think about this, you can list and list and list relationships. What's this friendship going to be like? What's this partner going to feel like? How is that going to go? We have gigantic expectations we can set for ourselves. And here's the result. And feel free to pop in. I would love to hear, what are the results of the death of your expectations? Can we speak of it? Here's mine. resentment. So I posted something, I think it was Anne Lamott, I believe, quote this week on expectations are resentments waiting to happen. Oh, hot diggity dog. And people responded to that. They were like, yes, that is exactly right. Resentment, disappointment much? Oh my God, I can think of the trail of tears I'm most certain I left behind me as I kept plunging forward into this, like, I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna make it happen the way that I think it should happen. Okay. All right. Oh my God. So you set yourself up by having these ideas. And I said the result of that is resentment, disappointment, defeat, anger. When we have an idea of an expectation, it doesn't come to fruition. The result is just like abomination. Hi, Chris. How are you? Nice to see you here. And so I wanted to throw it out there like, what are we doing to ourselves? So I want us to have some compassion first. Like, oh, okay. So I know my values are often a springboard. Okay, so we don't come at this stuff on accident. It's not like you like land an expectation on accident. Your expectations are born of your value sets. Some of mine, huge, being kind, being of service, being responsible. Oh my God, I'm going to talk about that one in abundance next week. So I can see where people get snagged because they're connected to your values so much of the time. Okay. The other thing it can be connected to is your personality and the way you're wired. So, what do I mean by that? Anxiety. Anxiety and this want, this desire to have a certain outcome, a certain resolution. And so, one of the things I think that was really happening for me was a high level of anxiety in wanting to control things. Not all things, not all people, like, right, but like this desire to have this outcome. And so it was easier to sort of set myself up in this place. But what I didn't realize at the time was like, that's a shit show. Oh my God. Tina Yogini, do you really want to be up in here with me? Should we invite a guest? I think we should. I'm not sure if you mean that or not, but I'll invite you in because I love guests. So you'll have to listen in at my favorite YouTube and Facebook friends. You'll have to listen if she decides to join me. We'll see if she joins. She's here. What's up, Tina? How are you? How are you, sister? I can see you. You can chat with me.
Seriously?
Yeah, you're in. Yeah. That was the best. I'm like, girl, you're in there with me. You're in there.
That is hilarious.
Oh my God. Welcome in. I'm so glad you're here. So, do you have any thoughts about expectation? We were talking about how they're a springboard for our values. So, number one, that usually they really start actually very often in a good place, or a sense of anxiety, right? That it's really driven from this really natural place that we want things to go a certain way and be a certain thing. And like, right. So we can kind of get like stuck in that. Do you have any thoughts about that? I would love your feedback or thoughts about that.
Yeah, that's funny because I was just sitting at the gas station. I popped open my phone, and the minute you opened up, you said anxiety. And I'm like, okay.
We do talk about the anxiety things up in here for sure. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, and I just read a quote, and I might be getting this wrong, but this is what the quote said to me. It said, expectation is like the seed that grows suffering.
It is. And I just posted a quote that said this week, that expectation is essentially going to lead to resentment. I believe it was by Anne Lamott, and I'm totally brain farting because it was much more eloquent than that. But I really love what she said, which is so true. It is the seed of suffering, right? We could go big on this. You and I philosophically, this is a big conversation, right? But that's the truth, is that it really can lead us to deeper suffering. And so we just want to kind of try to be kind to ourselves. So would you be willing? This is kind of vulnerable. So I love when people get in with me. This is my favorite because I love like spontaneous, like let's do a little coaching for just a couple of minutes. Do you find that there's certain areas of your life where expectations are tough for you?
Oh, definitely. Probably hardest on myself.
Oh, yeah. Totally.
Yeah. And maybe when it comes to my kids and what I expect
Oh, it's huge.
To, not that I have any big standards for them to set, but just how they're treated and how they move through the world and things like that.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah. Parenting is going to be the great human equalizer, isn't it, everybody? I'll tell you what, if you didn't have a good mirror for yourself before you became a parent, it will be your most gigantic one when you are one. I will guarantee. And I love that because next week I'm going to be talking a lot about how my daughter inspired a huge breakthrough for me in this exact wheelhouse where you're going. So I don't want to share it today because I'm going to save it for a guest speaker next week. But I absolutely love that you talked about, even for our kids, that's true too, is that we can have them for ourselves, for our kids. Are there certain areas, let me ask you this, are there value sets, Tina, that you find that you can get stuck in? So let me give you some starters, because I like examples. You might not have caught the starters. So when I was doing Insight Timer this week in my meditation in my community, I started it so I talked a lot about my sense of responsibility. I have a redonkulous sense of responsibility. I mean, like, it's on steroids, and I'm going to talk about that next week. And so I said, responsible people blank. Oh, but nice people blank.
Yeah.
Women should blank. So you can begin to see where it stirs up for us, right? So is there an area for you that you know personally that you're like, responsibility, kindness? Is there something that really kind of stirs it up for you that you're like, oh yeah, there it is?
Yeah, it's going to come up again. Mothers should.
No, so yes.
Or, teachers should.
Yes. Yes.
Like, I'm a yoga teacher, I'm
Yep.
a physical therapist.
Yeah.
It's like healthcare professionals should
Yes.
be this way or that way.
Yep.
Yoga teachers shouldn't ever feel sad or depressed. Yoga teachers should be, it's ridiculous.
For sure.
Ridiculous.
Right. Yeah. And it sets us up. What happens? I would love to hear, what's your response when you set something like that for yourself up? What's the result? Like when you're like, moms should, yoga teachers should, we shouldn't have responses. We shouldn't have personal reactions to things. We shouldn't do this. We shouldn't do that. What's the response for you when you step into that space?
The response that I feel.
Yes.
That I feel or that I get.
Anxiety. So stress. Yeah. Stress. And thank you for saying that. Cause I was like, resentment, disappointment, anger, defeat. I mean, I could sit and list all day, but I love that you're adding that in there, that it's anxiety provoking. Right. And so, so let me ask you this, because I'll let you don't have to stay on here with me, but I thank you so much. It's super fun. This is really what I love. I want my people, my community to come on in here with me and share space. What is one of your favorite tools that you use to combat, right? Because that's what we want to talk about here today. Like, I gave some options in my vlog this week, but I really want to kind of culminate some other ones in this time and space. What do you do with that time? How do you approach that? Like, what can I do to combat when I can feel that expectation rising up in me and that burden and that weight? What do you do with that?
I go to my breath.
Love it.
My breath.
Heck yeah.
Anything to dampen that little vagus, or
Yeah.
actually help that vagus nerve response kick in, to dampen that kind of stress, that fight or flight thing that starts creeping up. And then that just brings me back to the present, because it's you're not in the present, or I'm not in the present when I'm saying, what if this, what if that,
Yes.
or I should be this or shouldn't be that, or
Completely.
whatever. Then I'm worried. I'm either comparing something that's happened in the past, or I'm projecting into the future.
Absolutely.
So so it's just like something to become present, like breathing or stomping my feet, getting into my body, taking a walk,
Grounding. You're doing that grounding, embodying. I love that so much. That's so important. And so thank you for bringing that in, because I feel like the breath is so often one of those things where we can instantaneously transform. We forget. It sounds too simple to us, right? It's like, no, that can't possibly be. I'm like, oh, but it can. So I love that those are some of your tools. And I'm not surprised, because of your background, that you would instantaneously tap into using that body and the breath. And that's so beautiful. So, sweetheart, thank you so much for joining joining me in here. You're the best. Can you guys give her some love, please? Everybody's in here. I'm sending you some love and light for being in here. You are so awesome, Tina. Thank you so much. Come back and join me again. I love it. Yeah, what a blessing. Thank you so much. Thanks. So, we want to talk about, I love that Tina talked about comparison. And that is a biggie too for us. Comparison is one of the other areas we can fall trap to, that like, oh, my mind is all of a sudden I'm looking to, my expectation can be based on what somebody else is doing. Okay. And I hear a lot of people talk about things like imposter syndrome. This is where this stuff shows up. If so-and-so does it, then I must need to do it. Or maybe so-and-so is already doing it, so I can't do it. I mean, how many times have people felt that way as well? So I want you to kind of be thinking about all those ideas, but what else can we do? So I love that breath, embodiment. Literally, Tina nailed it right in there. I think so much of this also is catching the thought. It's thought catching. And so what I would really invite you to do is be mindful about when you start tripping through expectations, the shoulds. And I know, and my dear friend Eldine's in here, and she was like, the shoulds. So one of my people at Insight Timer said, don't should on yourself, which I love. I was like, oh, that's smart, right? Because that's so true. We want to release the idea that we should live into a certain thing or be a certain way, but it happens for all of us. So I want let's normalize, let's always use a little self-compassion, and let's understand that we don't have to live under that kind of thinking, and that really that thinking is circular in nature, and really it's like a big black hole, right? It's a big black void. We don't want to spend time and space and energy in something that's actually not going to serve us. And so it's thought catching, maybe breath work, embodying something. Part of it is, for me, it's allowing and releasing. And so I said that. So one of the things I'll do is, if my thoughts go there, this is what it looked like. Who am I thinking of? I was listening to a podcast today. Well, that podcaster is already doing that. So is there really space for this for me? And I have to release it, right? So the expectation is what do I have, that I'm going to somehow show up in the universe and nobody else will have done something like what I want to do, right? Or whatever that might be. So I have to catch myself and go, that's not serving me. That kind of thinking is not serving me. And so what I want to do is catch it and see if I can back myself out. What's that connected to? I wonder what that's about. Is it imposter syndrome? Is it right? What is this lack of feeling not worthy enough? What might it be for me when I'm catching something where I'm going, that's not serving me? But I want to be able to let go of the expectation. Here's how I practice it. If I'm going to do an event, so I mentioned early on, one of my areas that I really would struggle with was events. So hangouts, holidays, I would get myself, this is what's going to look like, this is what's going to feel like. Anybody else ever do this? And you get there and that's not what it's like. So-and-so's missing, something went awry, something's, somebody's sick, whatever. And then it would be like devastating. Okay. Like I'd be so devastated. Now I literally don't plan anything when I go to functions. I don't plan. I went to LA a week and a half ago. It was such an incredible experience. I had literally zero expectations. Because what I find is I'm so much more joyously surprised when I haven't already laid it out according to the way I think it will look or be. And what I had was this incredible journey of being so much more present, okay, because I didn't plan it out. So I wasn't busy dealing with the anxiety and the defeat and the frustration and all the stuff on the inside. I could just be in 5-dimensional, 3-dimensional space for my experience to just really unravel itself and show itself to me. Okay. Now I'm going to say this. That's a good example. That is so much work behind that. I don't want to make that sound easy because that's so unfair. Like, oh, I just woke up and last week I went to LA and I got to, no. I was a shit show, friends. I'm real honest about it. If you were in my head for much of my life and experienced it, you would know this is a monumental amount of work. So I had to practice. And what I want you to really hear from me is you have to practice these notions. This is not something I expect you to go away today. It's like, oh, awesome. I'm just going to talk myself through it all, tap into the breath, and then it'll go away. And that's amazing. But how we begin is by practice. We practice by doing and experiencing. So what happens if I go in and I'm like, oh, I've got an interview. I've got this experience coming up. I'm going to release that. I'm going to let it unfold. Here's what I need to do it, and see if you agree with me, because this is a toughie. Trust. I need to trust that I have what I'm going to need when I get where I'm going to go. If I don't trust myself to have the words, to have the language, so if I get interviewed by somebody, I never know what they're going to ask me. We can talk in advance and they can still surprise me like a jack in the box. Okay. So if I get in something and I think I have to plan out every single thing I'm going to say, right? But I'm on that. And then someone goes, and so tell me about something that we haven't planned. And I go, right. And I do this. I'm frozen. Oh shit. I didn't plan to talk about meditation. I didn't plan to talk about yoga nidra. I didn't plan to talk about mental health. And all of a sudden I'm like a deer in a headlight, and now I'm stuck and I'm frozen. Okay. So what I do is I release, I know what I know. I know what I know. Trusting that everything is exactly as it should be. Aldine, you are the bomb.com. That's exactly where I'm going. If I can trust in the law of abundance, which I know, I will not take you too far down this hole today. If I can trust in abundance, if I can trust in my own insight and wisdom, if I can trust that even if I don't got wisdom, that my authenticity and the way that I'm going to show up, that's going to speak on my behalf. Okay. That's okay. That I might have to fumble and go, oh my God, you know what? I didn't plan to answer a question about that, but let me think about that, because somebody's going to receive that as authentic. Right? So again, it's about, can I trust myself? Can I trust the things around me? Can I trust that I will know what to do? And that's really where the money is, my friends. And so it's practice. And I want you to hear me loud and clear. This is not, Jen did not arrive in this state. Jen did years of therapy and coaching and self-development and personal growth. Okay. I mean, I've done all the things. I mean, like I could sit and list. Okay. And so it's practice, and it is so hard. So challenging for people like who are control freaks. Aldine, exactly. But I think that's how I began my journey. I think that's what got me so tied up, was I wanted to control stuff. Okay. And that's human. It's human. It doesn't make us bad, wrong, it's human. And so what I want to say this week, one of the things I took away was I listened to people be really unkind to themselves in this. So in my Insight Timer meditation and community and people having this incredible conversation, it felt sometimes like people were really harsh to themselves. And I really want to ask you, by God, can you just be kind? So as you're doing the practice unraveling these behaviors we have, these habits that we might show up with, can you be kind? Because you wouldn't say to your friend that sent you a text in a crisis moment, oh my God, I'm so sick. I'm worried, sick over this interview I'm going to. What if I fumble this? This job is so important to me. Would you be like, well, what in the hell is wrong with you? And no, you would be like, sister, I got you. You've got this. You can do this. You know your stuff. Go in, live in large, go in with your whole heart. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And that's the right answer. You would give them a pep talk. And in our minds, we're like, you stupid piece of blankety blank. Like, we're like mean to ourselves. And so I really, truly want to invite in that compassion, that as you're doing these practices of unraveling the way that you see, respond, show up in the world, please be nice to yourself. Because here's the deal, being unkind, friends, doesn't change anything. Berating ourselves, being ungenerous, doesn't change a single damn thing. Not for one of us. And we would never treat someone else that way. So I'm going to really invite, as we practice this month, this idea, releasing expectations, releasing self-doubt, releasing the breath you've been holding way at the end of the month. Tina, that's a good one for you to show up for, even though you know the things. So you feel me that it's about the fine art of letting go. It's about intentionally letting go, which we're going to talk about next week. But everything good is also going to start from awareness and compassion and not being the shit out of ourselves. Okay. So as you practice this, if you stumble, have compassion. You will. I did. It's not a straight line. I laughed when I was talking to someone this week about when people, I'm doing a lot of networking phone calls. It's been super fun. And people used to think about therapy like this, psychotherapy. They come in and they'd be like, this is the line. Here I am. And this is the trajectory of progression. Right? Of wellness. I love Tina's laughing. So here's what I started doing. I took to literally drawing for my new clients. Okay, we're going to talk about the expectation of psychotherapy. What's going to happen for you? Here's the graph. Your progress is going to look like this. Are you ready? Right? Anybody? Right? But somehow in our minds, we have this idea. And why would I say that? To defeat them? No, because if their expectation is that therapy is going to start, they're going to make instantaneous progress and it's going to feel good, they're never coming back to me. Session 6 in, they're like, this shit just got real. I feel worse than when I started. This isn't working. Peace out. So if we have this idea, right? So it's one of the things I would always try to do is sneak in there ahead of your objections, ahead of your shoulds, okay? And I say, that's actually not how it's going to look, my friend. It's going to look a lot more like this. And that is so human and normal. And let's make space for that to be the journey, to release the idea of how it's going to look and feel, to show up as it is, to talk about how it is, and we will get through it. And I would tell you, if you ever leave a session and you feel rotten, you're like, this shit's for the birds, I'm done, call me, because I will talk you through that. Everything we do that's worth doing, my friends, is going to feel like this. And if our expectation of a marriage, a partnership, a business, our purpose, if we think our purpose looks like this, we're screwed. We're screwed. Okay. I had someone this week say to me, Jen, I think I've got my purpose and now I'm anxious to live into it. I was like, yep. Yeah, it was so right. So, I've got my purpose. And then the expectation is people that have got their purpose figured out blank. Oh, they never worry. They never struggle. They never ask the questions. They never get snagged again. Like, what are you talking about? Okay. What are you talking about? Of course you're going to have snags. Yo, I'm living in my purpose full time, full on, soul burning passion. And still there's questions. Okay. So I want us to release this idea, and please, for the love of all that is holy, can you just be kind to yourself in it? And one of the things you can do, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I talk about this a lot, is not only having that mind of abundance, that mind of trust, all the things, but also we need partners to help us do this. We don't do it in a vacuum. So maybe you've got a phenomenal community that you can show up and be like, hey, guess what's talking to me? The imposter syndrome bitch is back in the house, okay? So we might have to ask somebody, like, I need you to talk me off the ledge today, because today is rough. Today is hard for me. Today, I don't know why I'm doing this. Today, I don't think anybody's showing up on my Instagram or my Facebook or my YouTube. No one's listening. Does this matter? Do you know how many times my friends and I circle back to one another, remind me why I'm here? Or I get really super lucky, blessed, and someone reaches out and says, thanks for doing what you do because it made a difference. Thank you, Jesus. Like, the universe totally knows when I'm like, okay, I'm not sure about this. Bam, something will happen. But we need to use our resources. Please use your freaking resources, your friends, your business partners, your network. By God, when you hear me talk to community, this is what I'm talking about. My now business coaching community is so freaking phenomenal. If I reach out to them and say, you guys, I'm stuck, I'm worried, I don't know why the hell I'm here. I got an office hours one day and I was like, you guys, this has just been a horrible 2 weeks and I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore. And like, I'm surprised there went like a big whole like flood of tears and whatever. And people just held space for that. And they were like, you've got this. Because sometimes when I'm lacking trust, when I'm lacking the faith, when I'm lacking that energy in the minute, I will borrow someone else's. So you got to have your people that you're going to fall back to, and you're going to be like, I need you to talk me off the ledge today. I need you to remind me why I'm doing this. Can you please help me combat this thinking that is rolling around in my head in this awful way? And always it works. You guys, I can't say a single time that I didn't do that I didn't reach out and I didn't feel so much better. And there wasn't some unraveling of it to where I could actually step back into my groove and get back on track. Your expectations are normal. They are born of your values. That makes you so human. It's also what prompts the way you look at others, okay? Which we won't have time to even dive into today. When I look at somebody else, if my expectation for myself is honesty, my value, guess what I'm gonna expect from y'all? Okay. So I want you to understand that, make that connection. What does that mean for me? Okay. And so give yourself the space to understand these things. So it springboards from values. It's so human. I want you to have compassion. I want you to work on having trust in the abundance, trust in the things that are supposed to show up for you. I want you to thank God for the Tina of the universe coming in here talking about the breath, talking about grounding. I want you to refocus your thoughts. And then I want you to tap into other resources for support when you're stuck. And I hope that all feels like a linear program for how we might unravel the burden and this weight of expectation we can put on ourselves. But I'm going to invite you to do a big challenge today. Okay. This is like extra bonus points coaching. Look for the area, the shoulds. Do yourself a solid and look in your life. The moms, blank, good moms, blank, good responsible women, blank, business owners, blank, nice people. That was a big one in my Insight Timer. Everybody went, oh, you could feel, I can the comments. I'm like, oh, I just got everybody, right? Somebody said, talked about the feminine and the masculine. Women, good women, blank. Strong men, blank. Check for yourself. And the reason why you check yourself is they're going to be your potholes. They're going to be the spaces where you're inadvertently going to get a little bit hung up. They don't make you wrong. They don't make you fucking broken. Let me be real clear. You are not broken. You are human. Tapping into that compassion. Where are my hangups? I understand I've got them. They're just as human as the day is long. I'm going to give myself the same compassion I give my friend. And with that self-awareness, I can begin to unravel and think about what would more helpful thoughts look like. Who are my people to go through to if I'm really going through a minute, right? Okay. Any other questions? I'm calling you Eldine. I love you so much. Oh my God. Any other questions before we close, my friends? Before we close, last minute items. Anything. I invite anything. And otherwise, if you ask them later, I'll come back. I'll always come back, my friends. If you comment, ask questions in the comments, I will always circle back and make sure I'm responding to you, I promise. Okay. If any of that was helpful and you were like, you know what? Gosh, Jen, I could really use some support in this. Because guess what coaching looks like? Just like what we did today. This is the stuff we unravel. And how that ties into purpose is if I am not aware. Look at all the messages we just tapped into just today. If you're carrying that around, it'll get in the way of you living into your purpose. I will guarantee you. Doesn't mean you won't, just means it'll be harder. So this is one of the things I often do is release practices with my coaching clients. Actually, I always do it. I should say I always do. I do it in Reiki. I do it in meditation. I do it in all sorts of places because I believe so deeply that in releasing and letting go of the things not serving us is as crucial as what we're going to build on. And we can't build on a rickety base. Do you feel me? If I'm building on a rickety base, I got nothing to go from. Okay. So we start looking at the base of what we're working with. We shore that up and then we do the rest of the work. So if you're interested, I would love for you to take me back on, let's do a call together. It's a complimentary phone call. You're not obligated to do anything. And I will guarantee you, if you do one, you will always walk away with some skills and tools you didn't have when you started, always. Even if we decide that our work together for some reason or other is not the right thing for you. I'm always honest about that. I would meet people the first day in therapy. Nice to meet you, shake their hand. At the end, I'd be like, by the way, you never have to come back. And people go, particularly my teens. That was my favorite, right? Because the teens were like, what? That's right. I'm giving you the power. Okay. So I believe in that. It has to be the right fit, but the calls are so much fun. And I just get so jazzed about supporting people on their journey, even if it doesn't turn into some form of business for me. Maybe you're my friend, whatever, but I love what I do. And so I want to invite you in to take me up on that call, that complimentary time where we can work on paving your path to purpose. Okay. So feel free to reach out to me. That's why I'm here. But other questions and comments, please leave them. I love that. And I will respond to them. Okay. Otherwise, you guys, until next time, you guys come back next week. I've got a guest in the house, and she brought up an idea that lit me on freaking fire. And that's always how you know we're going somewhere awesome. So next week, 7 p.m. on Thursday. Okay. She works during the day, 7 p.m. Thursday night. I'm telling you a big hunk of my story, which I'm super jazzed about. And I'm going to give you an example of a deep sense of my humanity, where my expectations and ideas took me. It's a perfect example of all of that. So next Thursday, 7 p.m., that will be on Instagram only. Okay, so I do want to let everyone who's listening know, Instagram only, 7 p.m. I will be on with Chris Happy. We are going to be talking again about the fine art of letting go and what that means when we intentionally do it for our wellness. And I'm super stoked. I promise you're going to take something away from that as well. So until next time, loves, hoping to support your path to purpose. This is Jen signing off with blessings, love, and light. Until I see you next time, take care, everybody. Thanks, Tina.